Hello and welcome to The Telescope. Every week we'll bring you a fresh insight from the biggest car market in the world. Today we're in Xiamen on the launch media test drive of the NIO ES8. We are filming on June the 10th, so this is way before the European launch. By the time you see this video, it could be a few months back. But we are here today to try out the dynamic capabilities of the ES8. The ES8, as big as it is, has an extremely low drag coefficient of just 0.25. For such a massive upright SUV, that number is nothing short of amazing. There's still not enough big, massive, upright, pure battery electric SUVs on the market today, so you may not fully appreciate just how amazing this 0.25 number is. But in future, when the all battery electric Range Rover comes onto the market, you will have more context about the aero performance of this car. This is on the standard 20-inch wheel. You can spec this car to have 22-inch wheels, which does add more muscle to this car. We'll show you a footage of a 22-inch ES8 on the optional gold color. That does look significantly more premium. NIO never messes up the interior, even on the cheapest ET5. So on the ES8, you can expect this is full-on luxury with a lot of design elements. It's not just a lot of premium materials. This double layer IP adds more volume and I think suits this car's very upright, massive SUV character. In the second row, with 60mm added to its wheelbase, this is even more business class executive lounge than the previous generation. I mean, a preposterous amount of legroom, enough headroom. But I will pick one point, and that is this automatic headrest. Can you guess where is the control for the headrest? It's down there along with all of the other seat controls. I mean, I can't say where is the correct location to control the headrest, but if nobody has told me, I would never thought that the headrest control is down in the bottom of the seat. Now this was my spot because previously as a NIO PR employee, I spent most of the time in the third row of the ES8 because the front two rows has to be reserved for journalists. So I spent a lot of time on the third row of the previous generation ES8, which, let's be honest, is never an ideal place to sit. It's here in the third row that you can tell the ES8 has grown a little bit in size. I've set the front seat to someone of my height. I'm 5'11", with give it 7-8 centimeters of knee room. This is what it's like in the third row. I mean, this is so much better than a previous generation ES8. If you give me this third row 3 years ago, I'll still be complaining, but I'll complain a lot less. The car we have here today is the standard spec with the central walkthrough. You can spec a central island and you can even spec a fridge. But I think for most people, if you frequently use the third row, as quickly as NIO has made the second row fold up speed to be, there's no replacement for the central walkthrough. So if you are using this car more for your family, I suggest you go for this spec. But if you're using the ES8 more as a business executive car, then it makes sense to spec the fridge and the central island. However, I will say one thing. Whoever decided what to put in this fridge clearly have not used fridge on a car often enough. Because yes, you can put ice cokes and whatever drinks you have, but I think for people who frequently use fridge on the car, I think we can all agree the real essence is the chocolates that never melt. I mean, that is the true essence. You have Coke, you have iced chocolate, life cannot be any better. One caveat with the second row seat is, well, it's not a caveat, it's a bug, and I know NIO will fix this, is now the second row seat is at its most rearward position and the seat is very upright. If you want to recline a little bit, you will notice the seat will move forward. You see? It moves forward automatically, which loses a bit of legroom. I mean, this is still more than enough. Because if you want to squeeze out that last bit of knee room, now you can only manually recline the seat bit by bit until the seat back reaches that trigger point for the seat to move forward. That will give you the most comfortable seating position in the back row. I'm told that in future software updates, NIO will decouple the seat back adjustment to the seat position movement. So in future, you can just recline all the way back and not worry the seat will move forward by itself. Now we're on the move with the second gen ES8. This truly is a luxury car. It's not about any particular materials or any specific design details, but it's about the overall ambience it gives you. You know, when you step inside a truly luxurious car, you sort of breathe differently in the first few seconds. You know, ooh, This feels good. You know, the ES8 has that kind of ambience. Performance-wise, there's no surprise. Being a NIO, it always has excessive amount of performance. The ES8 now is claiming 4.1 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. But if you're just driving by yourself with no luggage, you're more or less looking at 3.9 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, which is basically too fast. The major upgrade of this generation ES8 dynamically is the dual chamber air suspension. Now this car is even more comfortable in the comfort mode and even more sporty in the sport mode. However, I will say the biggest improvement with this Gen ES8 is that it doesn't float anymore. I mean, I've done the review on the original ES8. That car is very fast, very luxurious as well, but I never felt like I want to drive it hard because that car floats, you know, well, under heavy braking, the nose dives so much deeper than I expected it to be. None of those problems apply to this car because it doesn't float anymore. You have a lot more confidence to push this car to its performance envelope. Of course, this car will normally default to comfort mode, but the real surprise is in the sport and especially the Sport Plus mode. Now, the Sport Plus mode is the mode I will actually drive because only in that mode you are using the extra stiffness coming from the dual chamber air suspension. It gives you a little bit of road information. It doesn't feel like any other single chamber air suspension that is laying down a very thick carpet on the road. Every little bump, it will still tell you, but in a very refined way. It never forgets that this is a very big, luxurious SUV. One thing I appreciate a lot is the turning radius. I mean, this car is even longer than the previous generation ES8, but I believe the turning radius is more than half a meter shorter than the previous gen ES8, having grown over 60mm in wheelbase. Now this car is very close to 5.1 meters. I mean, more agility is always welcome. With 74,000 US dollar or 69,000 euros, although that's Chinese pricing, by the time this car arrives in your respective country, the pricing could be slightly different, but there's no getting away from the fact that this is a very premium electric vehicle. It's already in its second generation, and arguably the ES8 is still a little bit ahead of its time because there are still not that many massive battery electric SUV on the market today. And that's why I think the full competence of this ES8 won't be fully appreciated until every major mainstream luxury brand rolls out their battery electric SUV of this size. You may have noticed I have not even mentioned range with the ES8 because with a NIO that can battery swap, that really is kind of irrelevant. With the support of battery swap stations, this will smoke any electric vehicle on long distance driving, be it Tesla Model S Plaid or whatever, because battery swap is always going to be several times faster than even the fastest 800 volt supercharging in the foreseeable future. I mean, if you haven't seen the battery swap in action, if you're not in a country like China with such a comprehensive network, you will never understand just how big of an advantage battery swap is. Compared to some of its most immediate rivals like the Mercedes GLS SUV, I think this looks better. It's more upright, it's less round, and dynamically, I wouldn't say the ES8 is head and shoulders above the BMW X7, which is the dynamic benchmark in its class, but it's definitely trading blows with its dual chamber air suspension. So the ES8 is still ahead of its time in its second generation. I think that tells you just how advanced this car really is. That is all from the Telescope today. If you enjoyed this video, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming along very soon.